For plebs, by plebs, dropping the Bitcoin-only signal. Pleb Underground. Welcome everyone to the Pleb Underground.
Pleb Underground, we rack number 73. Jimmy, pound, we stack, slumber, plenty, see. The future's bright, but the present's dim. So channel your light and hit the gym. Do what you might, a bit from a nim. Express gratitude, say thanks to him. This might be a platitude, but life's far from a sim. So change your attitude, fill your cup to the brim. Bitcoin rules everything around me. Plenty more bream in the sea. Writing no longer random as I walk with sobriety. Exciting, most stronger tandem, inspired by variety. One at a time, not a house full like sorority. Don't like it quiet like a mouse, full mic, sonority. Filter police, you'll never be the authority. Fuck you from the underground, we're the majority. Sometimes these are short, I'll keep this brief. No short in the store, unbridled mischief. Quantum cat to the latest dive. Schrodinger and you, both dead and alive. Shitcoiners always pretend that they're living externally, but their insides aren't forgiving. They know full well they'll end up mint. Crazy animals fiend for the cat mint. This is Bitcoin country, VOC. I prescribe orange pills like a DOC. Stacking sats, the feeling not gone, worn off. From where you saw it first, shotgun, sawn off. Exhibit A, we're all on X. For dopamine hits and just to flex. You're on Twitter, you X while you P. Addicted to social, you X till you Z. Filter boys, find the fees startling. You swerve, auto with the tiz. She said she don't like sparkling, so I serve the water with the riz. Not trying to break your neck, I just bust a rhyme. Not buying the hopium, gotta check, trust's a crime. This is for individuals, money for Machiavelli. Get on zero, no residual. You're not chicken like Tselly.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. Guys, that's right. Joining us today, we've got fellow Bitcoiner and pleb, Tselly. It's happening, my dude. Thank you very much for joining us on Pleb Underground.
Whoops.
Sweet. Glad to have you on the show, man.
Representing 58K gang, right?
That's
like,
right.
We're getting close to getting back to the stablecoin numbers, eh?
Hey, it's always been 58K.
It's 58K forever, and you know what? I love the 58K gang. So yeah, we're gonna talk about.
I can't wait to see how much hate we get this year.
It was interesting. It was interesting last cycle, by the way. Very interesting. We were all excited for you guys on the way up, and we did not like you guys on the way down.
No,
So-
the reason the moon didn't happen wasn't because of SBF or FTX. It was because not enough people embraced 58K, and if you'd embraced 58K, maybe there'd have been a proper moon.
you.
Absolutely. Gotta have respect. Once we have enough respect, we'll get there.
Too few. All right, guys, that's it. We're going to move it on over to the numbers.
Yeah, the numbers, of course, brought to us by Time Chain Stats and Time Chain Calendar. What do they look like this week, Phil?
At the time of this recording, the block height is 828,924. The total public lightning capacity, 4,983. Bitcoin fiat exchange. That's right. I switched it up to confuse everyone. 42,800. Oh, 876. It just keeps moving. Okay. Anyways. All right. Moscow time, 23:32. Fastest fee, 27. Really? 27 sats for Vivite? I thought it was like 500 yesterday. Anyway.
Yeah, what happens is, like, in the middle of the day, I was seeing it yesterday as well. In the middle of the day, I saw a bunch. In fact, no, I went on the evening, and it was like 7 hours ago, and there's a bunch of people tweeting like, "Oh, the fucking shitcoiners! It's like it's like 700 sats per V-byte." And then I looked at mempool, and I was like, "It's at 40 again. Like, what's going on? You're saying it's now down to like 27? Like
28 now.
People are high time preference with these mempool fees. Like, just come back in a few hours, guys."
Are people paying? I think maybe people are paying too much attention to it. Okay, but look, let's just finish it up. Days to the halvening, 77, and chain rewrite days. Really, really strange, and maybe just I don't know, a sign of the times. Chain rewrite days is 666. So that's kind of weird. Anyways, those are the numbers. Those are the numbers.
The devil's in the details, as they say.
Yeah, right? That's like, what the hell? I don't know. I always feel uncomfortable with certain sets of numbers. I don't know what it is. Anyways, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So look, those are the numbers. I don't know. I think what I was saying before, right? Are people paying way too much attention to these fees? Like, going back to your point, Walton, I think it's too high time preference. Like, well, what is it really? Like, all of a sudden, everyone's really transacting on Bitcoin that much that they care that much about the fees? I don't know. I just don't buy it. I don't buy it. I think it's a lot of concerned people for the sake of being concerned. Maybe it's a little bit of boredom, right? At the end of the bear market, people are getting restless.
I was going to share this in REKT, but actually I think I'll share it now because it's what we're talking about, right? So we had people, including Mononaut here, going, guys, about the fees being in the hundreds of sats per V-byte, and he said, actually, it seems to be driven by lots of transactions like this, committing to a large batch of inscriptions, also creating a bunch of seemingly pointless 420 sat outputs, like for the meme, right? But and he says the inscriptions that have been revealed so far are recursive references to some 3D orb model. So he assumes it's another mint event for one of these vaporware metaverse projects. And then he finds the evidence for it. He says, okay, I was right, it's this. 100,000 item open mint for a metaverse game token. These 420 sat outputs are royalties. I guess the creators have realized they'll never be able to spend it. And when he says never, like, it's not quite true, right? He says, no, because actually, it's basically I think it was above 7 sats per V-byte. They would be like completely spent, but it's not that you can't. I think there's some misunderstandings about like what dust is, right? You can still pay to move it.
Yeah,
it just is uneconomical to do so, right? So you could use some other UTXO to pay the fees to move some stupidly small UTXO. Yeah, and this is where I think like people assume, oh, everyone's an economic, a rational economic actor, when actually shitcoinery often isn't rational economic actions.
That's actually the point. Don, what are your thoughts on this?
It just reminded me that I still have a transaction for 12 per from November when the wallet of Satoshi was ending in the U.S. operations. So I'm just sitting there. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Wait, so you didn't withdraw over Lightning?
No, I didn't, because I was still trying to figure out which Lightning wallet I wanted to use next. So I did on chain.
That's bold, because of course you pay a percentage fee as well to do an on-chain transaction to or from wallet Satoshi. So you took a hit and it sat there, and I guess you can't RBF or anything like that.
I've tried to up the fees. I've tried, and it's whatever. It's money I can't touch, which I wouldn't have touched anyway. But no, when they announced it, I kind of was in a panic. I didn't know if they were gonna just turn it off and then everything was stopped. So I just sent it on chain, and it's kind of like cold storage. Can't touch it. It's somewhere on the chain.
It's just sitting there. One day it'll get mined. Okay.
Yeah, and
one day
no matter what the fees are, it'll be worth more once it finally clears. We'll all take bets on it when it clears.
Can we just briefly talk about these low transactions? Because I think we often see, if you go to mempool, it's purging transactions under 23 sats per V-byte, and then you sit around and go, yeah, but why is this transaction that I put in way lower not being purged and it's sitting there? And my understanding is that there are some people who are running nodes that actually don't have 300 megabyte mempools. They have multiple gigs of the size of their mempool, and so actually all of these transactions keep getting relayed and don't get purged unless I'm mistaken.
No, I think I understood the same thing as well. That's to me that seems accurate. But I do want to go back.
I think it's really frustrating because actually, if you want to, you don't necessarily want to RBF every transaction that's in at too low a fee rate. You kind of want it to fall out and then redo it, because depending
why
on
keep it there?
The type, well, there's different types of RBF, right? Like you can have, sometimes if you RBF, you end up with some other like small change output, and you don't necessarily want that, because then you're creating another some small UTXO, and so actually
can't do shit.
You only want to RBF it if you can full RBF it.
I just want to go back to something that you said before about the non-rational actors. And I was in a space last week where somebody was talking exactly about this. Like, what do I do with, a whole bunch of these supposed dust UTXOs, right? Like some people have a bunch of, like 2000 sats sitting here 800 sats sitting there. And to your point, you think that people won't do this, but you'd be surprised. Like, people will sit there and send enough BTC to those addresses so that they could move it all. And it's totally not worth it. But just simply not to have the dust, just to have it actually at zero, somebody is willing to spend to clean it up, essentially, if you think about it, right? It's kind of weird. I don't know. It's kind of weird. For me, I'm like, I don't care. You know, at that point, once it's like an unspendable dust UTXO, what do I give a shit? Like, I'm not going to spend more to clean it up. What's the point of that? May as well just hang on to your sats. So, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Anyways, let's take a look at something. We're going to switch gears and take a look at some other numbers related stuff here. All right, we got this post from Greg, and this, I mean, I guess this could have gone in the Hopium, but to me, this was just numbers related, and it's kind of interesting that it came out at this time when that goggle headset came out for starting price of $3,500. But take a look at this, right? The going back and essentially taking a look at the price of iPhones priced in BTC, right? The iPhone 4, which, you know, I had one of these. This was not such a great phone. And
that's a 4S, but I had a 4 as well. Like, I think I had like 2, 3, 4. I had too many of these. I'm going, oh shit, I really should have bought Bitcoin, right?
I mean, this is brutal. 162 BTC. I mean, like, right, like, boom. Instead of an iPhone 4, how about generational wealth? No thanks. I need something to check out, you know, JPEGs and shit. I just want that. But yeah, look at that. I mean, look, we are at the point now. iPhone 15, 0.031 of a BTC. I mean, come on, 3% of a Bitcoin.
So I bought one of these 15 Pros, and in fairness, right, like it's, but I hadn't bought a phone in like 3 years or something. It's not like you certainly shouldn't be doing it like every year or whatever it is. But Apple are one of the few people still offering 0% finance over 2 years on an iPhone. I personally think you should take those kind of deals. Don't buy it all up front, you know, but put it on 0% finance and buy some Bitcoin.
That's actually, hey, look, that's actually a good take. If you don't have too many expenses every month, right, and you're actually doing things smart, that could be okay, right? There's some people though who are just absolutely awful with money, but hopefully they're learning.
Don't spend $1,000, like spend $100 a month or whatever, or less, and you know, and buy a chunk of Bitcoin.
Some corn. Yeah, exactly.
I used to look at these things all the time. I hate looking at them now. Like, remember that site, bitcoinershit.com?
Yes.
Like, the further away we get, the more sour I get. It's Captain Hindsight's a bitch.
It really is. It absolutely is. Okay, we got one more article here for the numbers here. Walton, you posted this for us. Let's take a look at this.
Just briefly though, on the point that Tselly made there, like I like the phrasing that if you live in the past, you can kind of be depressed. If you live in the future, you can get anxious, and so you should be living in the present. So don't, like, you need to embrace the decisions you make, and okay, maybe you can learn from them, but like don't obsess over former decisions, because it's not gonna help you.
I'm pretty sure it was Eckhart Tolle that wrote the book Be Here Now, among other type of books like that. But yes, mindfulness and being aware and in the moment and being present is the way to reduce your anxiety and depression. This is true. It's a natural way of doing it, but it takes a lot of practice for some people. It definitely does, but worthwhile. It's a worthwhile practice. Okay, let's take a look at this, Walton, because I don't know. You posted this, and I feel like maybe it should have also been part of my Hopium, but who knows? Despite that, the outflows of GBTC, we're still seeing. We're going to talk about the ETF stuff too as well. We're still seeing positive net inflows. Bitcoin could see price appreciation over time due to the inflows as the GBTC selling eases. And shout out to Sins_BitGuide. Definitely a great account to follow. He puts out awesome material, very high quality Bitcoin signal. And what are we looking at here? We're looking at these pretty graphs. It's interesting, isn't it, though? Because we're seeing these types, we're seeing a solid inflow, okay? And we are seeing, though, that GBTC was still moving Bitcoin over to the ETFs last week, but yet the Bitcoin price, and I don't know if this is bullish or not, but the Bitcoin price is just kind of holding steady, right? We're not really doing anything, but it's not a bad thing.
I mean, it came back up a little bit, right? Like, but it's to me, this is there's some record numbers happening with these ETFs, right? And fuck the ETFs, they're attack on Bitcoin,
I
blah
know,
blah
exactly.
blah. But there's one ETF that's got to like $4 billion worth in like is it like a few weeks? It's like it's is IBIT the biggest? Is that the BlackRock
IBIT? Yeah,
one?
it's BlackRock's. Yeah,
It's so it's something like the fastest growing ETF ever of anything, which to me is significant. Okay, you know, but yeah, fuck the ETFs.
Don, have you been paying attention to the ETFs?
Yeah, I've been watching it. I'm curious what else they're investing in. You know, are they investing in mining themselves and having a share of the market? What are their plans outside of just that? As far as other things we could be concerned about, you know, the price manipulation during the FTX fallout is something like that stirring. So I think a lot about a lot of the stuff that happens with the ETFs.
I think that's so you know what, you make a good point, right? What else are they investing in? So supposedly they are investing in miners, right? If we go take a look at the major shareholders of some of the publicly traded mining companies, essentially the big companies like BlackRock are getting exposure, to those miners. So I don't know. Some people, you put on the tinfoil hat, you say, okay, these guys are doing this to somehow corner the market and force something in Bitcoin. Do they care enough, or is this just like our echo chamber thinking that like it's way more important than it is right now to them, right? We see it as extremely important to them, but do they necessarily see that stuff? Like I feel that BlackRock has made it apparent that they believe that holding Bitcoin is important to them, but I don't believe that they've really signaled that these other investments seem really like, I don't know. I don't think that they've signaled that they're important to them. Not to say that it doesn't matter, but just to say like, I wonder what their perception of those are compared to just holding Bitcoin. So
they love control, right? So and they play the long game. So you have to assume that they have a lot of things up their sleeves that things that we're just thinking about, they've already been thinking about and planning. So just we got to just make sure that the changes and everything, that we still have the network under control as much as we can, because at this point there's only so much miners they can get.
That's true. And you know what? I mean, again, I've said this before, and I do think that we're kind of underestimating the little the microcontrollers and all of these little kind of do-it-yourself solo miners and stuff. Like, look, chips are just going to get more powerful. And I know that like we're kind of hitting some limit very soon, but it's also like, I mean, humanity dictates that we break limits, right? Like at some point. So at some point there will be some type of breakthrough. And I just don't see necessarily mining necessarily staying the way that it is, but what the hell do I know? Like it's just a utopian dream, right? that I'd like everybody to be able to mine Bitcoin. But anyways, guys, we're gonna move on from the numbers and we are gonna dive into the Fireside Chat. The Fireside Chat is brought to you by BTC Pins. Check them out at btcpins.com. Awesome pins made by BTC Pins. Here is my set right here. Of course, I always love to show it off. Absolutely awesome, guys. You get 5% off with the code PlebUnderground at btcpins.com. Welcome back, everyone. It is the Fireside Chat. You know who we've got. We've got Tselly joining us. Before we dive into some really interesting topics with Tselly about what he's doing in Bitcoin, I just want to tell this funny story to me, which will probably not be funny to you, but it's funny to me. I would read Don's name on Twitter as Don T.Selly. Okay, and I'm such a winner that I couldn't figure out that it was Don't Sell. And the first time I met
I think
Tselly,
it takes most people a while filling fast.
Does it?
Right?
Okay, so I don't feel so stupid. I appreciate you being really nice to me, but I feel like smarter people got it right away. So, and when I met Tselly, he was like, "Yeah, it's Don't Sell." I was like, "Of course." So yeah, that's my intro
Maybe
story.
if you do it with like an accent, don't sell. Like you have to. I don't know. Maybe it's for the like Latinos or something.
I don't know. But that was super
You'd
fun.
be surprised how many times I have to.
So how often has that happened?
All the time and everyone. It's crazy. I don't. There's a handful of people that got it at first, but you'd be surprised how many times I have to actually explain that. But once they get it, they're like, I can see it in their eyes that they really didn't know. I was like,
I have one more question for you before we dive into some Tselly stuff. And my question to you is this: how many people on Bitcoin Twitter are Tselly?
and on Bitcoin Twitter, as of a couple weeks ago, I think I counted them. It's 25.
I have no
Wait,
idea.
you
who I'm
have
talking to.
25 alts? Is that what we're saying?
Wait. Some of them. So I run a lot of handles for Bitcoin companies as well. But yeah,
Everyone is
a lot of absolutely everyone is Tselly. I have people. It's funny once people start realizing some of my other alts, they're like, "Oh, I love that account," and then they'll start DMing me like just paranoid, like, "Are you this person?" or "Wait, is this you?" And I just always type back, "Everyone is Tselly," just to make them even more confused. And they're just like, "Oh man." It was. I had somebody that was like starting to get upset. They're like, "You're just everyone. You're in every chat room." I'm like.
Dude, I want you to know that ever since you told me that, I'll sit there and have like conversations with people, and I'm like, this might be Tselly. and I just don't know.
It's a bit like how people try and use Bitcoin addresses to work out how many like people are buying Bitcoin. It's like if you can do the same thing with like Bitcoin Twitter. Like how many people are there on Bitcoin Twitter? Well, I think maybe there's some people who are sharing handles, and there's also like a whole bunch of people that have multiple handles.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's only like 30 of us in Bitcoin Twitter, to be honest.
I think I've met more than that. Like we had more than that Pleb tacos, so both years. So
maybe there's 100. Maybe there's 100 people on.
Well,
on
yeah,
Bitcoin
it was
Twitter.
maybe 30 when I first started in Bitcoin. So I guess
we're growing.
A couple.
Okay, OG.
All right. Speaking of OG. Okay, so Don, you do this. You started this thing, Proof of Ink. Why don't you tell us? By the way, I love the name. Of course, I love the name. So why don't you tell us about, why you started Proof of Ink? What is Proof of Ink? All the good stuff.
Yeah, so I didn't start Proof of Ink, but I got brought on board. No, so John Galt started it, and he started it because
who is John Galt?
He's a Bitcoin.
No, it's a joke, isn't that what people say? They're like, who is John Galt? I don't know. Anyway, keep going.
It's the Atlas Shrugged reference. Yeah. Sorry, Tselly.
So acquiring Bitcoin shirts and everything, a lot of them have been using the printing service. It's called DTG, which is basically a spray-on shirt. So like a printer that sprays onto it. Now with those, the quality isn't as good. So after a few months in the washer and dryer, it starts taking off, right? So John wanted to start doing screen printing to start giving proof of work, start really giving Bitcoin companies legitimate and high quality products to hand out. And so he just started doing that. He wanted to, part of it was also to help the different Bitcoin companies and kind of make relationships and network with it. And also offer them, sales for any of their logos or anything that sell as well. So kind of like I pat my back, you pat mine, and just kind of rebuilding that relationship with companies that a lot of things have just been lost over the years. So yeah.
Very cool. All right, so maybe we should take a look at Proof of Ink to see what we can do. Some because we're supposed to have a line that comes out with represents, of course. But like. Yeah. Obviously, right? It's like Bitcoin companies. We want to support, and help help everybody, right, at the same time, especially when it comes to this. Look, I like the whole entire the whole entire networking aspect. To me it's kind of like that's the whole point, right? There is no community in Bitcoin, but there are communities of people, so speaking of communities of people, has Proof of Ink done anything for Stack Chain, Mag? Has there been any kind of cross collaboration with those two projects? Because I am going to ask you about Stack Chain.
Yes. So I mean, that is hosted on our site. It's so John's also a part of that. So the two of us also work with Stack Chain Magazine. We offer the apparel on our site as well for it. We do all the shipping and stuff for it too. So we're kind of the backbones of that operation. But Stack Chain is actually, it's not controlled by anyone. It's basically 10 there's 10 of us that basically all argue until we, make the issue and then we joke about everything. But it's cool because it's a democratic process with it. So nobody's in charge. So it works a little bit differently than Proof of Ink.
How did Stack Chain start? Because I mean, how about
Arizona, right? Arizona stacked $5, was it, or something, and then it went from there.
Yeah. So the Stack Chain, started. What's funny is I've never been a Stack Chainer myself. So, but they started stacking, and then there's just a whole list of everybody that stacked on it, and they usually do the pictures and stuff. What's funny is they brought me on board because I was the outsider of all the Stack Chainers. So I was kind of the different perspective to give to the magazine. So I'm not your expert on the actual chain.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because I mean, obviously, you see it on Twitter, right? Like you see the posts and everything like that, and I'm just like, are these guys just doxing their stacks? And I mean,
they were with the exact sat numbers, right?
Yeah,
like it was horrendous for privacy. I'm pretty sure also the registered sex offender was part of it, and also Swan kind of co-opted it as like sort of their thing for a while. It was also once voted to be more gay than Phil Gibson. So like Stack Chain, like I was trying to dunk on Phil, and Stack Chain got wrecked. But
Oh God,
I don't know. Like I always like community efforts of people to buy Bitcoin, but a lot of Stack Chain stuff was poorly thought out, I have to say. But I'm pleased that there's always some new community, and it seems like Stack Chain Mag's doing well.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
and we
absolutely.
And we on Pleb Underground showcase your guys' stuff. So we really, I mean, the Stack Chain magazine, right? The articles. So once a week we try to put out, some of your guys' articles and everything like that to, to kind of help and give some visibility to it, because it is really high quality signal, so.
Yeah, no, we appreciate that. There's a lot of work that goes into it. There's a lot of work that goes into that. When I joined the team, it was right before the second issue. So it was cool to see the process and everything. We have a great editor, and the designer. Obviously, you look at everything there. It's top work. When I got the first magazine, I was like, wow, this project is amazing. Like, it's proof of work. It's the concept is awesome too.
What I like about it is, and it's very much in the same vein as Pleb Underground, is it's the part of the reason it exists is because there is a lot of media in the Bitcoin space that gets bought up and dictated by corporate Bitcoin, and Stack Chain Mag, like Pleb Underground, is about unfiltered, uncucked, like bullshit. It's not about bullshit, right? Like, it's not about like corporate cuck shit.
No.
Like,
it's about bullshit,
right? Like,
but it's uncucked.
Well, okay, all right. But the point is, right, is that it's real pleb media.
Yeah.
That isn't being sponsored and controlled by like VC type actors who want to try and steer conversation and say what can and can't be said.
Oh, we'd be so loaded. We'd be so loaded if that was the case, though. Man, we'd be able to wear these big gold chains and stuff, and just fancy, right? I'd have like $4,000 frames. It'd be crazy.
Well, that's the hard part. Is it's starting to gain a lot of popularity, and so people are reaching out to sponsor or do things like that. But the way we're designed is we don't accept any money from any sponsors or anything like that. All the money is basically just from the issues. So basically we're doing everything that Bitcoin Magazine didn't do. So we've kind of learned from their mistakes, and we've built that to really be able to do whatever we want. And we push the limits. If you see the holiday issue, it's I was pushing the limits on the cover to see what they would actually let me do.
That is absolutely awesome. But I'm sorry, I just want to backtrack though for a split second.
I gotta see it now. Have you got it? Have you got a physical? You haven't got it with you by any chance? You can't share the cover.
I'm not at my house, but you can probably pull it up on the site. I should have brought the magazines. Sorry, John.
If you send me a link, I can probably pop it up during this part of the movie, part of the show, part of the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do want to backtrack for a second, just to talk about the actual stack chain itself, just because 2 cycles ago, okay, when Cash App first started, okay, a bunch of us, right, we were first getting into Bitcoin, and we were Bitcoin only, and we had this KYC piece of crap that some of us were excited about, and we were like, hey, we're gonna stack with this, and we were doxing exact stacks. And I still remember to this day, Francis posted, and it was great, right? Like he didn't retweet anybody. He just kind of subtweeted, right? Because that's what they call that when you decide to speak your mind about something and not retweet somebody or reply for whatever reason. It's some way to, anyways, I'm not even going to get into the psychology behind that, but essentially, like, he tweeted out that, hey, look, like, it's really nice that you guys want to support Bitcoin and that you want to buy Bitcoin, but you need to realize you have no idea who is reading these tweets and who is on the internet. So you think that innocently you're just, you're supporting, your fellow Bitcoiners, but really over time you're doxing your stack, and you're letting somebody know exact amounts. At some point, somebody is going to start to be able to correlate. If they want to, it's going to want to correlate those numbers with an address, and it's going to happen. And it's like, why do that? And I remember I put out like two tweets of that nature, and then he put that out, and I was like, he's fucking absolutely right. Like, this is bad. I mean, so you just kind of start hiding the last couple of numbers behind some emojis or something like that. But yeah, it's weird, right? You kind of walk this middle path, like, it's a double-edged sword, where you're proud and you're happy to say you're stacking, but at the same time you have to be really careful because you don't know who's out there, and not everybody's really there to necessarily be part of the network, so to speak. Some people are literally just poachers, right? And they're just looking. So
yeah, you have to always be aware of keeping your privacy. Bitcoin's only a tool. I mean, you have to actually practice it in every aspect that you do if you want it. So I'm sure there's going to be more things that come out that people may not notice, but as we grow and as we have more people like us teaching the new guys, I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, I think so. So all right, we're going to switch gears again back to Proof of Ink, and so look, what are what are some of the products? I mean, obviously you guys do t-shirts and stuff like that, but are you doing like mugs and like, is it like the whole line of anything kind of thing, or are you specializing in something?
So we're right now we do apparel printing, but we're expanding right now. So we just hit the 1 year mark, and we're going to start reinvesting. So we're going to be adding hats to the mix. We do, like I said, we do the magazine printing. We're going to be doing a lot of different collaborations. We're doing one with Maxi's Club that'll be coming out later this year, and then I love we're going to start doing. Yeah.
Or his or her memes. I don't know who that is, but I like that account. Her.
Yeah, Red is a her. Yep. I was surprised by that when I first talked, or when I first found out. But I got to do an interview for her that's coming up on the new Stack Sheen issue for the third one. So that'll be cool. She's really cool to talk to. I had a nice conversation, so definitely check that out.
I was finally able to load. It took like a couple of minutes, clearly because it's just so full of amazing content. But I've loaded the Christmas special that we were talking about.
Oh, nice.
We were talking about before.
All right, yeah,
and I see what you mean, right? Like, it seems like Yellow's like trying to molest you while you're doing the Christmas decorations. Yeah.
You check out the mirror.
Yeah, I'm looking at the mirror.
Yeah.
It's the other side of the tree.
Yeah, we see that.
For 58K.
Yeah.
I see what you mean by pushing the envelope. I see what you mean by that.
And they let me put that on the cover.
But you know what? In all fairness, right? Coming from like, here we go. I sound like an old fart again. You know, like being a Gen Xer, right? And growing up with all of these kind of underground magazines and stuff like that. It has that vibe, right? It has that. There's something like it's. There's no word for me to describe it, but there's some kind of a feeling behind like organic content and like stuff that just people make because they want to make it and they really don't give a shit what you think. You know, like, and part of that, it's like it's kind of it's alluring in a way, right? It's like these people aren't looking to, you know, to placate my ego or, you know, pat me on the back or be an accomplice. Like they don't give a shit. They're just making their stuff. And if I'm going to pay attention to it, great. And if I'm going to say it's a piece of shit, well, they don't really care. And I don't know, there's something about that is so missing. So like when you see it, it's like, yeah, that's it. You know what? Another, there's Ungovernable Misfits, right? Walton knows those guys. I love their stuff. And actually I was walking around, I was walking around this weekend and like some mother was like, hey, what's your shirt? Because I had like an Ungovernable Misfits t-shirt with the like the Pi Zero on it and the camera and everything. She's like, my son would love that. You know, he loves microcontrollers and this and that. So it's just like it's like that. I don't know how to explain it, but it's something that kind of like touches you at like a different level, you know?
No, absolutely. And we all do it for the love of it. And you know, one of the deals is, you know, if you ever start feeling like, you know, you're not doing this out of passion, then just take a little break from it or whatever. But you know, we're never really in a rush. You know, we'll start coming out with more and more as the process gets better. But we give us all time to kind of do it when we can. And it's pretty cool because it's like, you know, it's like any other art. You know, when you have a musician or something, you know, their earlier albums are always better than the mainstream ones, right? So that's kind of where we're at, and that's where we want to try and stay.
Very nice, very nice. All right,
so like the kind of slightly under the radar Bitcoin merch because it's good for OBSEC, and also I just feel like it looks cooler in general. It's like I do love this shirt. Like I'll wear this shirt in public sometimes. But like you don't really want one that just has like the giant Bitcoin logo over the front because like it, I don't know. It's kind of like we need to make Bitcoin sexy again, and just like having the Bitcoin logo or the word Bitcoin doesn't do that, guys. So like you know, stop being so white and nerdy and like, you know.
True. It is true. I mean, look, I can't disagree with you because even me, like I remember when I first got into this, you know, I was all excited to get like a Bitcoin t-shirt. And then when you really start to get to understand Bitcoin, you sit there and you think to yourself, I actually don't want to advertise that like I really like this stuff. You know, I don't really want to advertise that on my clothes where I'm walking around. Like I just and it's true, you know, like that's kind of another reason we chose the type of branding that we chose for Pleb Underground, right? Like you're really only going to understand that it has to do with Bitcoin if you understand the orange bee. You know, and even then you may still not necessarily put the two and two together. It's very like it's low key. And I think that people want that even for their, you know, even for their apparel. Right. Like, so, yeah. Anyways. So look, Proof of Ink. If people want to find you, if they want to find Proof of Ink, where do they find you guys? How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so our Twitter is @proofofink. Our website is proofofink.com. Me and John answer, all the emails and the DMs daily with that. And then that's the best way would be DM or the email sales@proofofink.com.
Sweet. Awesome. Anyways, look, we're going to put your guys' Twitter details in the show notes. And guys, that wraps up the Fireside Chat. And we're going to move it on over to REKT.
Up next, we have REKT, sponsored by Represent. Represent are a Bitcoin-owned clothing and accessories brand based in the United States of America. They make fine pieces like the shirt that you can see I'm wearing today. But you can't buy this, but you can buy something nearly as cool if you go over to representltd.com and use the code PlebUnderground to get a discount on all of their goodies. Once again, that's representltd.com. So I've got a few stories for you guys today in REKT. Some of them are definitely more Bitcoin focused, and some are a bit about the world and the times that we're living in. But the first one, and to me, this one was a slightly concerning one, because of the power of how these things get reported. Right, the Bitcoin Archive posted saying German police seized $50,000 worth of Bitcoin, about 2 billion euros, allegedly bought with money made running a movie pirating site until 2013. To me, this is a concerning story, because we talk about Bitcoin as being an asset that you can't seize, right? Mm-hmm. And the government can't seize, the police can't seize, etc. And so this sort of reporting, I think, can undermine some of the I think the truisms of Bitcoin. Now, I don't know all the details about how this Bitcoin was stored, but actually what happened is that the 50,000 Bitcoin was actually voluntarily transferred to the German police. So it wasn't that the police actually seized the keys or hacked Bitcoin or anything like that. What happened is they essentially got enough dirt on someone, and in order to get out of jail or to reduce the sentence or whatever it is, the guy's handing over a whole bunch of Bitcoin, and I think it highlights like a situation that maybe many people could find themselves in the future, right? That whilst the government or police or whoever can't seize your Bitcoin, can't take it from you, especially if you're using geographically distributed multisig, they can put various sorts of social and legal pressures on you such that then you give it to them. And I think many people are underestimating how that might go. What do you guys think?
This is kind of one of those really bad situations, and I totally agree with you, right? It wasn't actually seized, it was voluntarily sent, and it kind of brings up the point of, so when you end up in a situation with a government agency, this is more or less how it's going to go. Because think about it, right? Like, what can they really do? They can imprison you, right? I mean, at some point it's going to get very strange, because unless you hand the Bitcoin over voluntarily, what are they supposed to do, right? They're going to have to torture you to get it out. I mean, like, in all seriousness, like, right? Well,
I think it's more they put, again, people want to buy their freedom, right? And so I think to some degree this is what's happened, and I still think this is what's happened with Barry Silbert and GBTC, right? That he did some sort of deal, right? And hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin were being sold into the market to get bought up by the ETFs, or maybe over OTC desks, etc. Like, yeah, I don't know. He's not going to jail. He didn't transfer it to the police, but there's various sorts of deals that get made all over the place, many of which don't get reported on.
So the police is the obvious law enforcement, right? The financial institutions are the not obvious law enforcement, because I do agree with you. And I also let's not ignore CZ, right? All of a sudden, like CZ had to do the public shaming, right? And then say, okay, bring in all your regulators to look over everything we have. So, right, he did the public shaming and then he kissed the ring. So, yeah, I don't disagree with you. Don, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, it kind of brings us back to, Bitcoin's only one tool with privacy, right? So you talked about digging dirt on people. Make sure you're practicing, things like running a VPN, not posting your transactions, things like that. You got to pay attention to, because that scenario could easily, be used by local police for, anything once they discover you have Bitcoin and they want it.
It's a very good point. That is a very good point. And yeah, a lot of times we do overlook the importance of that. And I think that sometimes some people also kind of they make it sound like a VPN is this kind of ultra cryptic, like it's only computer nerds. Like, guys, VPN software is totally automated at this point. It's super easy to install.
So fucking
run.
easy.
It's a joke. So, like this whole idea that like you have to act like this super elite, whatever it is, like to get some basic security. It's not true. And also the other point is that a lot of Bitcoin wallets now come with default Tor support. So already you're on Tor. All you need to do is install a VPN, and VPNs are actually pretty cheap. I mean, what is it? It's like some of them are like $35 for like 3 years. I mean,
I pay $60 a year for mine.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on the features.
I think I paid like I don't know, like 90 for 3 years or something like that. Like, yeah, like you can get pretty good deals.
Get some good deals, like especially around like Thanksgiving in the States. Like
Black
I'm not
Friday
trying to be
or that sort of thing.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
worth every penny. It's worth every penny. And the cool thing about it is, right now as they're making new laws, as regulations always get worse, right? So as they start trying to control our internet more and more due to where you are, with a VPN, you can access anything, even if it's, banned.
It's a very good point.
All right, guys. So my next story in REKT is people signing prenups. Apparently, lawyers are pissed that there's now money that kind of excluded lawyers, unsurprisingly, right? Fuck you, lawyers. And yeah, here's the new Terrence who does spaces, not Swan Terrence, a different one, sharing something from his friend going through her prenup, and there was a clause that said the parties agree that they shall not jointly or individually acquire cryptocurrency and or digital currency so long as the parties are married. Now, let me talk about incentives here, guys. So lawyers that will eventually decide on who gets what in the divorce and take a cut of it don't want the couple to have assets that it's hard for them to take a cut of. What a surprise. Yeah.
Not your ex-wife's
I do know some people who've gone through divorces who've managed to hold on to some of their wealth because they stored a whole bunch in Bitcoin. So make sure you tell the police that you've lost all your Bitcoin and stuff well before you begin your divorce proceedings, guys.
It's almost voting season.
Oh, go ahead, Don.
Oh, I just said it's almost voting season.
It's always voting season in Bitcoin. I mean, no, but all I can do is make that face. I mean, for real, that is just absolutely insane. It's like, so but hold on a second though. Okay. So you do get married, you sign that ridiculous fucking prenup, right? Like, again, how do they know if you actually, oh yeah, well, you know what, KYC, right? So that means they're going to have to go through and look at all of your fucking bank records to figure out if you ever transferred money to a possible shitcoin exchange. So pretty much all it does is leave you to mining and or working for Bitcoin in payment. So
Most people in Europe and the UK think prenups are kind of ridiculous. Like it's a very like American thing. I mean, okay, it does exist in, you know, I'm sure in certain like very rich families, maybe they do prenups all over the world. But like in general, to me, these kind of things, it's like you're why agree on something for when it goes wrong? Like, it's just like it's the wrong sort of framing of how to do marriage to me, but each to their own. But it's interesting that you bring up that it's voting season, Tselly, and earlier you talked about the democratic processes for Stack Chain Mag, and here we see some democratic processes with Biden letting in all the illegals, right? So because then they can vote for the Democratic Party in voting season, right? Because of course, you know, it's racist for people to have to show voter ID or to even have voter ID, right? So like it's and I thought it was interesting because it's Elon Musk talking about it. But I do think we're gonna see these sort of tricks played all over the world, increasingly by governments and political parties as they try and like hold on to power, maybe increasingly so as the state gets defunded by things like Bitcoin, and of course as they have to keep refinancing their debt at higher rates and the debt keeps growing. And tax receipts start dwindling, and greater percentage of tax income gets paid on the interest of the debt, and public services decrease even though people are paying more taxes. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what kind of tricks get pulled by the state.
Well, they've already started. They already have the framework built. So for the government, they have ID.me, which basically takes biometrics of your face and everything and gets all your information. You need that. You're starting to need that to get benefits. If you're working for the government, you have one. If you have, so actually, I'm in the system because I had a mortgage license. I had to get that in order to get it. So they're just pushing it further and further. So, you know, big companies are going to start using it. It's going to be, I imagine people are going to start using it kind of like doing a background check on you when you start a job. So they've been playing that. They've already had that built and they're just pushing it more to try and get everybody onto it.
Yeah, Walton. I feel like we're living in some crazy times, and I saw something that I think maybe the most peak fiat thing that I've ever seen this week on Twitter. I don't really feel like it's very Bitcoin related, but I wanted to share it because I was just astounded. And let me show you what I'm talking about here.
My husband and I have removed the bottoms of all of our shoes. We decided to start walking barefoot, and one of our followers had a great idea. Since some businesses don't want us being completely barefoot, if we cut off the bottom of our shoes, it'll allow us to be barefoot but blend in with everyone else. This is a huge commitment, but we were willing to make it. These are our favorite shoes. Our shoe collection is worth more than $20,000, but this is a sacrifice we're willing to take because walking barefoot means the world to us. The benefits of walking barefoot are priceless, so now our shoes are worth more than money could ever be. So today we got to work and started removing the bottoms. We weren't sure if this was going to be easy or hard, and it ended up being pretty easy. We made little shelves where our toes are and our heels are. We made a little lip on the bottom of the shoe where our toenails will go so they can latch on, so we'll actually be able to hold on.
I think that's enough, but like basically like people with more money than sense, right? This is what I'm talking about in this peak fiat world. People that spend not hundreds but thousands of dollars on really fucking ugly shoes. Like, I don't understand this. I feel like this is very American concept, but it's spread all over the world. This culture of like sneakers, this yeah, they're just like I don't get it. It's like trying to impress people you don't like with things that you can't afford, and now you're gonna walk around and hopefully not get HIV when you stand on some random needle or something. Like I don't get it. Like, what if you want to be barefoot? Why do you live in a city? Like, what? Just none of this adds up, Phil. Like, make it make sense, Phil.
Thank you. Okay, so look, right? This is the problem when stupid is enabled. Okay, like, yes, walking barefoot is indeed, like, there are documented health benefits of walking barefoot on the grass. in the sand, not in a fucking urban environment. Okay, with all the diseases and shit. Like that's not what they're talking about. That's not like, this is so stupid. Okay, and this is the problem. Like this is the problem. Like these people, and unfortunately, these people are not going to learn their lesson. Okay? Like that is part of the problem. Like they are not going to learn their lesson. They're going to continue to do stupid things like this, and it's actually going to get even dumber. And I couldn't believe it when I first saw that video. I hadn't seen it play yet, so I hadn't heard it yet. So I thought that it was some weird new invention, and I already thought that just the way it looked was idiotic. And then I heard them explain it, and it just went to, like warp speed levels of stupidity. I don't even know where to go with that, because really it doesn't make any sense.
I think the cornrows really make it.
And when he put on those shades, I was like, this has got to be a joke at this point, right? And then no, they're just like, again, why is this relevant to Bitcoin? I think I can tie it back in. Basically, we live in an era of money printing, and that money printing goes to like VCs, right? Who have been doing, like, the whole like Silicon Valley pump and dumps, and they don't necessarily invest in the good products or services. They invest in the companies that have good stories, right? And so, like, you saw, like, what was it, Theranos, and I don't know, WeWork, and like there's a whole bunch of things that like seem like a good story, and so that's what they sell. And so then where does that money go? Well, it goes to people at these sort of companies that are just like crazy idiots, like these people that we saw in this video here. Yeah.
It reminds me of, it's basically just this generation of self-righteous people who literally do everything, live in America. They buy all these things that come from China, but and all these things that they do, and they're not willing to give up until the government tells them to. Those are the type of people that are making these things. It's like a little let me feel good about myself pump.
It's interesting you reference the self-righteous thing, and I like a little bit of philosophy, and I like Nietzsche. Nietzsche said that there is no God, and that's that's the quotation that gets like snipped and pushed all over the place. But his point when he talks about this was that like we'll get to a point where we're living in an era where people think there is no God, and they are their own God, and they are their own moral authority. And this is what you're speaking to here. There are people who make these decisions without really, I don't know, without I mean, they clearly think something through, apparently, but just they're self-righteous, right? They think they can do no wrong because it's this hyper individualistic society. I think individualism is a good thing, but I think it's gone too far.
Like with TikTok, people are just posting things that I'm a do-gooder, and it's really just for attention seeking.
Broken incentives.
Yeah.
Look, that's kind of the other thing, right? Obviously there's nothing wrong with doing good, but the fact that like these people have to advertise all the good that they claim that they're doing, so like at some point it's total virtue signaling, and indeed somebody could sit there and say, well, what are you doing? It's like, no, it's not what am I doing, it's the fact that I don't fucking have to advertise it. Like the point of the act is the act itself, and if you aren't prepared to take everything that comes from the act itself, I mean, there's no helping you, right? Like, I mean, it's at that point, it just becomes a vanity play, and it becomes a look at me and what I'm doing. And this is something I've never understood, right? Like, if you genuinely cared about something, like, okay, it's fine, I get it. Let's say for a business, you have to advertise a product, you have to get your name out there and this and that. Okay, fine. But on an individual level, if you genuinely care about something, why does it matter to you that other people know that you are so good. Like, why does that,
you hit
like,
the nail on the head.
Shouldn't that just be enough for you? Like, I don't know.
And if you really want to be barefoot, like, yeah, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Stop LARPing. Guys, the last thing I want to share from REKT might seem slightly strange here. So here we see BTC Sessions, friend of the show, BTC Sessions, Ben, pushing or explaining about aqua wallet,
him.
right?
Yeah.
And I feel like there's an increasing number of people talking positively about aqua wallet. Now, let me talk for a minute about Scamson Mao, right? This guy is basically a failed NFT salesman, right? He made some game or didn't make the game, like sold a bunch of bullshit, and now goes around the world helping with quote unquote state adoption of Bitcoin. He's a paid Tether shill. He has the world's largest collection of Tether t-shirts, and his new wallet, Aqua Wallet, doesn't actually support Lightning, although they will do Lightning transactions from your liquid balance with an additional fee using Bolt Exchange, and they'll do various sort of swaps. But it's not only a Bitcoin and Liquid wallet, it's also a Tether wallet, right? And it's not just Tether on Liquid, it's Tether on Tron, it's Tether on Ethereum. Like, it's a fucking shitcoin wallet, and I see a whole bunch of Bitcoiners talking really quite positively about this. And I don't know, I feel like there's something's up with this. I don't know all the details, but I'm very suspicious, like how this seems to be getting such positive reviews from a bunch of people who are supposedly a Bitcoin only. I confess I've never used Liquid because I don't like the fact that it has a permission to peg out. Yeah, gentlemen, your thoughts on Liquid, Scamson Mao, and the world's number one Tether wallet for Bitcoin.
Oh, I don't know what happened to my camera there. Give me a second. Go ahead, Don.
Well, I'm not really sure what problem Liquid fixes that we don't already have at our fingertips. It seems like just another version of Lightning, but it makes you wonder what's going on in the background of the apps and what it's connected to. So until I see everybody else using it and figure out what it's actually doing, don't trust verify. Look into it and kind of this is the point where I sit back and I watch everybody kind of praise it, shit on it, and then go from there.
I like that take. That's a good safe that's a good safe stance, right? Like, there's nothing wrong.
I see it more like Bitcoin, but custodial rather than like Lightning. Like, it's a federation that has the keys, and I think there's some privacy benefits to using it. But like, it's a centralized shitcoin. Maybe it's one of the best shitcoins, but it's still a shitcoin in my eyes. Phil?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, even though my camera's screwing up, I'm still here. Anyways, okay. So a couple of points on this. Number one, I've read up on Liquid. I mean, it's a federated side chain. You peg in, you peg out. I have no use for this. I really don't. I'm a simple person. I just stack and hold Bitcoin, and that's it. And I use cold storage. So besides that, I have no use for Liquid, so I don't give a shit. When it comes to Aqua, I did download it. I installed it. I tried it out to see what it looked like. I saw all the tether pegs. I saw all the, what Walton was talking about. And indeed, it's, it supposedly supports Liquid and Lightning through the mechanism that Walton explained. And, yes, it is definitely not a coincidence that all of a sudden, these Bitcoiners are, extolling the virtues of Aqua. I don't think that that's a coincidence. I do think that seems to be coordinated. Now on Samson, right? So I've known Samson for a while, and believe it or not, Walton, he is a friend to the show. It's good stuff. So look, I will say this. Definitely, I'm not a fan of like the tether shilling or anything like that. But I can say that I've seen him put together some really good Bitcoin only memes, and he makes some very excellent points, and he is a great Bitcoin cheerleader. But unfortunately for all of us, right? Like it doesn't excuse our shitcoining past, to a certain extent, and our shitcoining present. So it's one of those double-edged swords. To each their own. Look, you've got Max Schill's Tether Gold, right? And that's total trash. And then he sits there and talks about Bitcoin only. So like we have this. Like, well, what do you, it's like, what do you want? Like we have this in this space. That's why you can't have any heroes. That's why you can't really trust anyone. That's why when somebody says the wonderful things about Bitcoin, you can't just automatically blanket trust everything else they're saying. You can't,
So Liquid was basically made for states
businesses.
to adopt. Okay.
It's, states, businesses. It's really like, to me, as a retail user, I don't see a point in it. But again, it could just be my limited understanding of it, right?
In the high fee environments, there's been some people seemingly thinking it's a way to convert between saying convert between on chain and Lightning, like via Tether. I don't understand why you can't just use Bolt's exchange, for example, as a swap service. Like there's a whole bunch of different things that means you don't need to use Liquid. But yeah, I'm always suspicious of, like, I don't know, supposedly rich people that are like out of shape and dress poorly and things like this. It's like, and I don't know, like, what really is wealth? Like, if you can't afford to, like, take the time to, like, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, what if you don't own enough of your own time? How wealthy are you really? And if you've really got lots of money, then why are you still selling all your time? I don't know. Anyway, this was REKT, guys. And up next,
we are gonna move it on over to the Hopium.
The Hopium.
The Hopium is brought to you by CypherSafe. Check them out at CypherSafe.io. Seed storage. It's a high-quality seed plate, virtually indestructible. Check it out at CypherSafe.io. Comes with the awesome punch tool. That's right. If it didn't, you couldn't use it. If you appreciate fine Bitcoin art, check out the Bitcoin Rouleau Triangle. 16 ounces of solid titanium made by a Bitcoiner for fellow Bitcoiners at CypherSafe.io. All right, guys, for the Hopium, we've got some good stuff. So look, while you're seeing all kinds of really crazy FUD, right, about the government, I forget what this bill is that they're trying to pass, where they're trying to get all the miners to essentially dox themselves in the States. Okay, so look, while all of this bad stuff is happening and Bitcoin mining bad and right, the energy is dying, check this out, right? This is from the Documenting BTC account. Local news station in Georgia reports a new Bitcoin mine could help lower energy bills and property taxes for the entire city of Sandersville. So let's take a look at a little bit of the video here.
Welcome back. The newest mine in Sandersville has nothing to do with mining at all, but the Bitcoin mine is definitely making an impact on the city's economy.
Last year, we took you inside the high-tech facility, and now it's expanding. And Anthony Montato got a tour today. He joins us in the studio with a look inside.
You guys, the facility is truly massive. Take a look at this. That's just the power station. In fact, like I said, it even has its own power substation just to help manage the 250 megawatt power output. That's about 10 times what it takes to power the entire city.
There were some trees in a dirt field, right? It's come a long way and moving really quick.
Fast forward 2 months and a sprawling tract of land is turning into a sprawling Bitcoin mine.
We're halfway, up the hill right here with 6 buildings coming up.
Each one as long as the Titanic, all of them housing computers just like this that crunch numbers all day to create Bitcoin.
Think of cash for a digital age. That's what Bitcoin does. So Bitcoin, unlike...
Okay, now we're gonna go into the whole what Bitcoin is part of the story. Anyways, look, I think that's pretty bullish. And before we go to the next segment, I just wanted to know what your guys' thoughts were, because of course, right, we had the Bitcoin. I do find it very interesting. We had the ETFs get approved, and then all of a sudden this weird legislation appears where all of the miners need to get doxxed, but then all of a sudden, right? While all of this kind of coercion is going on, hey, look, apparently Bitcoin mines are actually not so terrible for the environment, and maybe they're even helping out the local communities.
Well, I think the concept is actually really cool. If you think about it, there's a lot of stranded energy, right? So there's a lot of communities that have been beat up by, big corporations like Walmart and stuff. And so a lot of these areas now have a way to make money and make their communities flourish by harnessing that stranded energy. And now they have the incentive. It kind of gives them a chance to fight back against the system that kind of pushed them out.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Walton, any thoughts on this?
Tried fire in the media.
This is true. The corporate-owned media, and it is TradFi. Anyways, all right. Next Hopium. See, Walt? Look at that, huh? Look at that. Anyways, all right. So here's a tweet from Samson. The most important thing with the Bitcoin ETFs that most people seem to miss is the rate of accumulation, right? The last few MSTR mega stacks over 10K BTC were 14.6K and 16.1K BTC. IBIT, right, which is BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF, average stack 200 million per day or 4.7K BTC per day, and FBTC average stack was 175 million per day or 4.2K BTC. So every 2 days, just two of the new 9 are hoovering up what MSTR does in a good month. So,
all right, so firstly, fuck this guy. Secondly, he's apparently the architect of Bitcoin bonds, which I criticized so hard that he unfollowed me after 2 weeks of following me a couple years ago, because I believe they're still not fucking out yet, right? Like, so, and didn't he say like a couple months ago that, Bitcoin's going to be at $1 million in just a matter of weeks? Like, yeah. Fuck's sake. Like, I talked about these numbers, right, in numbers. Okay, yeah, these ETFs are buying up a whole bunch of supply. Maybe that's bullish, but I look at incentives, and this guy's owned by Bitfinex, by the Tether like guys, and yeah, if you tweet bullish stuff, then people go out and they buy Bitcoin, and you get a cut of the fees, or your overlords get a cut of the fees, or whatever it is. And yes, mining does only supply 900 Bitcoin a day right now, but that's not what supply is. That's new supply. And whilst we still have a couple million coins on exchanges, that allows a lot of price fuckery, and all of the Bitcoin that's going into ETFs, again, I think enables a whole bunch of fuckery. I don't know, like unless you're storing the Bitcoin in self-custody, I don't think it's real Bitcoin. I think it's paper Bitcoin, and yeah, it's a scam.
Yeah, I can't disagree on a lot of those points, and one of the reasons is this, right? Everybody keeps telling us, like, not even just Samson, but like even Fred Krueger there, the nightmare specialist. Like even he keeps talking about how like all these ETFs are buying up all this Bitcoin, and that's fine and dandy, but like none of it is actually translating into like, how could I say this, like these elevated fiat Bitcoin exchange prices that supposedly we were going to see, because supposedly the correlation is supposed to be direct, but yet it's not. Now the argument could be made that the reason why we're not at 35K is because they're buying up all of this BTC right now. That I've heard that argument as well. Okay, maybe that's true, but either way, the Hopium sellers, they're just selling Hopium, okay? We didn't see anything of what they saw, of what they said we were going to see. There were no fireworks, okay? So that's why like we're not trying to dampen the party, and it is the Hopium segment, but at the same time, the reason why it's the Hopium segment is because exactly that. Hopium is just that. It sounds really good, but there's almost nothing in there, right? It's Hopium. anyways, moving on. Last piece of the hope. Unless Don, you have any comments to make on the fact that the ETFs are buying up all this BTC and we're just sitting flat?
No, I think we've already covered it.
It's like, anything else? It's like, all right, but look, this I think is pretty bullish. I think this is kind of, and it doesn't surprise me, right? When you own 60% of the payment networks, you're not just going to cede your moat to some open source technology. Okay, you are going to do what it takes to keep control. And what am I talking about? It's a tweet from, and this guy just started tweeting a lot of bullish stuff about Bitcoin. I feel like he's like newly orange pilled. Rajat Soni, CFA. I'm the Bitcoin guy, 10 years of financial industry experience, and now apparently he's orange pilled. Anyways, Visa has now enabled Bitcoin withdrawals on debit cards in 145 countries. And here it is, guys, from Cointelegraph. Let's see. Visa is doubling down on cryptocurrency adoption by enabling another method to exchange crypto to fiat currencies without using a centralized exchange. We don't care about the crypto. We only care about the Bitcoin. Visa has partnered with the Web3 crypto infrastructure provider Transact to introduce cryptocurrency withdrawals and payments through the Visa Direct solution. The firm announced January 30th. The new integration allows users to withdraw cryptocurrency like Bitcoin directly from a wallet like. So this is interesting because MetaMask doesn't support Bitcoin. So this is kind of interesting, right? So did Visa just kind of like twist MetaMask's arm into now accepting Bitcoin? Because
to me it seems like there's a lot of weird like wording. If you go back to, I think I shared this one for Hopium with you, Phil. Just go back to the tweet for a second. I think so. If you go back to the tweet, Rajat said Visa has enabled Bitcoin withdrawals on debit cards. To me, it's not a withdrawal of Bitcoin. They're enabling you to convert Bitcoin into fiat and spend it. That's not a Bitcoin withdrawal in my eyes, but each to their own. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and I think somebody just said it right here. Bitcoin withdrawals makes it sound like you're withdrawing Bitcoin. It's a Bitcoin fiat conversion from a KYC sources like MetaMask and Ledger. And
right, and then he says that's what debit cards are for, spending fiat. So he's orange pilled, but it doesn't seem like he quite gets it just yet.
No, yeah, exactly. So here we go. This is a major step towards mainstream acceptance and utilization of cryptocurrencies, highlighting a more accessible and convenient nature of the transactions enabled by the integrations. Okay, so look, we are at the point for real, okay? If people actually zoom out and look at where we are, we have a very powerful and overbearing financial legacy system. We have this whole new open source network that they cannot control, but they desperately want to control. Okay. And unfortunately, because of the way the system is set up, they are the gatekeepers when it comes to converting between fiat and those right, like Bitcoin, right? Cryptocurrencies. So the problem is, we are literally like the person staring over the abyss, right? And I think, are we quoting Nietzsche again? I don't know if that was Nietzsche, right? That gaze into the abyss. Don't fear gazing into the abyss. Fear that it will gaze back into you. I think that might even be him. Anyways, I don't know why it's turning out to be such a philosophical
episode.
It is, right? Yeah. So, but I don't know. It's our theme, but it's true because we are at that impasse, right? This gray area of the legacy system and Bitcoin's network. This is the abyss, right? This is the chasm that we have to cross. And these types of stories that we're seeing, this is the chasm being crossed, right? Like that's the way I see it. Anyways, what are your thoughts? We'll go to Don first and then we'll wrap it up with Walton.
Well, I mean, it kind of looks like we're winning, right? They're bending the knee and starting to incorporate Bitcoin into it, and mainly because they're losing their transactions, right? So a lot more transactions are starting to happen on our network, so they have to kind of integrate us now.
They can't ignore us anymore, right?
Right.
Not much of a choice. Yeah, that's exactly it. They don't want to miss that.
To me, it's less about transactions and more about wealth. It's more about the. Oh, maybe actually there's this new group of the people that actually store their wealth in Bitcoin, and Yeah, maybe they want to spend it, and so like basically all fiat businesses, they start simping for whoever's got some money and trying to get them to spend it.
I mean, look, that's exactly the point. I think you hit the nail on the head. They want, I think they want to insulate and ensure their moat. They're going to do what it takes, not only to stay relevant, but to stay in control. Visa owns 60% of the current payment networks. MasterCard owns 40%. And I know that people are going to sit there and be like, well, that's 100. What about American Express and Discover? I've said this in the past. That is a that is a rotating number. Okay. They essentially, American Express, Discover, Heartland, Global Payments, and a few others are all fighting for this 10%, right? This kind of invisible 10% that is kind of like given and taken on a quarterly basis. So, but they are the two giants. And if we think for a second that they are going to give up any of that moat, right, to a network that cannot like centralize and profit off of that, like, we're insane. They are not giving that up. They're way too big and too powerful. I just don't buy it, you know? So anyways, look, it's going to work, I think, in our favor, to a certain extent. I think in the long run, it's going to work to our favor. But in the meantime, temporarily in the near term, I think that, in their eyes, they need to believe that they're winning and that they're keeping control. Anyways, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Either way, I think the legacy rails, coming to Bitcoin, metaphorically bending the knee, I think that's bullish. Guys, let us know what you think. Put it in the comments. This wraps up the Hopium, and it also wraps up this episode of Pleb Underground. But before we go, Dawn, once again, how do the plebs get in touch with you, and how do they find Proof of Ink in case they want to go maybe get some swag or something?
Yep, you can find our apparel and products at proofofink.com. You can reach us out to us on Twitter at Proof of Ink, and email is sales@proofofink.com.
Sweet. All right, guys, that is going to be in the show notes. Don't forget to check out our audio-only episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. If you want to stream us sats, check us out on fountain.fm. You can stream us sats through Breeze. Yeah. I love it.
I love the jingle. I love it.
Hey, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe, right? Help us grow the channel. It's all we ask for. Like and subscribe. Walton, how do we end this one?
Fuckshitcoins.com. We'll see you next week.
Peace.
More toxic than the most toxic Bitcoin maxi ever. They said he's more toxic than the most toxic Bitcoin maxi ever.